Welcome to the RFP Success Show with host Lisa Rehurek, the #1 sought-after authority on RFP success. Each week, we bring you information, strategies, or resources to help you win more business through RFPs and have a little fun doing it. Let's get this week's episode started.
Welcome to the RFP Success Show. I am your host, Lisa Rehurek, founder and CEO of the RFP Success Company. And our goal is to bring you information, strategies, and resources to help you win more business. We want to help you do better and win more and have a little bit of fun doing it. So let's get this week's episode started. Today we are talking about personality styles, personality or behavioral styles. And this is a little bit of a ninja trick that I love to share with my clients who already have a really high win percentage. This is something that I share with them on a pretty regular basis because it's so powerful and very few people are paying attention to it. So what do I mean by behavioral styles or personality styles? Your behavioral style is really the way that you approach things, the way you see the world. And each one of us tends to approach the world the way that we are. That's just human nature. My behavioral style is very different than many of you listening. So when I approach things from my behavioral style, it might not always resonate with you who would maybe have a conflicting behavioral style or a different behavioral style. When we can meet somebody else where they are and approach things from their behavioral style, then it resonates with them more. If you didn't listen to my podcast episode from last week, I want you to go back and listen to it because I talked a lot about how to capture, actually the whole episode was about how to capture the evaluator's attention. Because while knowledge and experience and expertise are, of course, important, we are no longer competing on those things alone. We are competing for attention span because we live in a very busy world with things flying at us all the time. So much information, our brains can't keep track of it all. Your evaluators are human beings that have all of those same issues. And so we're competing for that attention. And last week's episode, I talked about the things you need to do to really pay attention to that. This week, in talking about behavioral styles, this is just amping that up one level. And again, taking it to that next level for the ninja trick of really making sure you're capturing the evaluator's behavioral style. Now, what you're probably thinking is, well, Lisa, there's maybe 3 or 4 different evaluators and they're all going to be different. Absolutely right. You're probably also thinking, well, how will I know? I don't know all the evaluators. I don't know what their behavioral styles are. You're absolutely right. So guess what? You've got to write your response so that no matter what their behavioral style is, you're going to capture their attention. That could be kind of a heavy lift, right? That feels like it could be really heavy. Like, how the hell are we going to do that, Lisa? Well, let's talk about it. First of all, I want to talk about the 4 different behavioral styles so that you can really understand each one of them. So the first one is the social butterfly. I am a social butterfly, absolutely. The social butterfly is the person who loves people. They're very outgoing, very extroverted, very people forward. And they really want to do business with people that they like. So they're going to pay attention to your likability factor. They also can get unfocused very easily and very quickly. So you're going to lose them the quickest. If you've got too much heavy content, you're going to lose the social butterfly. They're skimmers. They're going to look at the bullets. They're going to look at the graphics. Social butterflies love graphics, but again, that graphic better tell the story. It better send a message in 2 seconds or you're going to lose the social butterfly. The social butterfly is the easiest one to lose, but the easiest one to probably gain trust with because they love to like people. They love to trust people. They absolutely make decisions with emotion and again, that likability piece. They don't like boring. They want to get to know somebody through personal stories, connecting to their passion. Social butterflies also love new. So if you're competing against an incumbent on an existing contract, social butterflies a lot of times can be your advocates, but you got to win them over in that proposal response. Keep that in mind too for finalist presentations. The social butterflies are going to be the ones smiling in the audience. They're going to be the ones that you feel are your biggest cheerleaders. So that's a social butterfly, right? The next one is the slow and steady. The slow and steady is a very methodical and they like process. So they're the ones that are going to really grab a hold of anything you have to do with steps in the process, helping them visualize the method that you're going to use, the process, the methodology, step 1, step 2, step 3. They're going to love that piece of it. They have more patience than, say, a social butterfly. So your slow and steady is going to be somebody that probably reads every last inch of your proposal. First of all, because they've got the patience for it, but secondly, because that's part of the gig. They've been told they need to read this proposal, so they're going to read the proposal. They're probably going to really follow those instructions because that's part of the process. They're going to be very dedicated to the evaluation criteria. They are very emotional as well, so they will also be making decisions based on emotion, but they like their comfort zone. So if you are going up against an incumbent on an existing contract, they're going to probably be one of your hardest sells. So they're going to have to feel good about making a change. They don't like change. Slow and steadies do not like change. You know, if what they've got is working 80% of the time, it's easier for them to stay there than to move to something that might work 100% of the time. So you've got to really win them over, okay? The straight shooter is style number 3. And the straight shooter does not like to waste time. They are not going to read your whole proposal. They're going to look at the highlights, and they are very accomplishment driven. Okay? They like to see the accomplishments. They will make decisions based on their head much more than they will on their emotion. They like efficiency. So they will be the ones that pay attention to price, yes, but value over price will be more important. And your accomplishments as a company, all of that substantiation that I talk about, if this is your first experience with me, then know that I always talk about substantiating your claim. You've got to have proof to back up your claims. And if you don't have that proof, you're going to lose a straight shooter immediately. You're going to lose any trust. There's not going to be any trust built there. So the straight shooter needs trust, of course, as we all do, but they don't want to waste their time with somebody that's just claiming stuff that they can't back up. So they need those accomplishments, but they need the backup. They need the statistics. They love case studies and quantifiable results. Okay. And then last but not least is the statistical. And just like it is, the statistical personality loves data. They will also be making their decision from their head, much less emotion. And they are the ones that are looking for the real data, much like the straight shooter, but more data driven. It doesn't just have to be accomplishment driven. You know, for a straight shooter, you can say, you know, we work with 9 out of 10 of the Fortune 500 companies in such and such an industry, whatever that is. Whereas the statistical will maybe want more of a percentage, some data to back that up. And what does that mean for them? Okay. They tend to be very analytical. They don't like a lot of fluff. So you can easily lose their attention in an RFP if you're telling too many stories, if you're not giving them enough data to back it up, or if you're giving a lot of that marketing fluff that I've talked about. If it's too kind of high level and it's not really anything they can sink their teeth into, you're going to lose the statistical. All right, so everything that I just said, there's a whole lot of contradictory information there, right? There is, okay, well, you tell us that you want us to tell stories, Lisa, but then you've got a couple of personalities that don't like stories. Or you tell us that you've got people that will read the whole thing and other people that won't. What do we do in that case? Well, in that case, you've kind of got to balance it all. And what I tell people is the best you can do to kind of tier your answers, meaning for every answer, the very first thing for every answer you should do is a brief 2 to 3 sentence at the most summary of your answer. Anything you can do to give that straight shooter or that social butterfly something they can sink their teeth into in 1, 2, 3 sentences, then they're not going to read the rest of it. You know, you're slow and you're steady and statistical will, and they need the rest of that. Your social butterfly might, especially if you've got a nice testimonial or if you've got a case study in a call-out box. That's why some of that's important. So the visual, that social butterfly is going to be looking for the visuals. Your straight shooter is probably going to be looking for the visuals only because they're looking for the data in the visuals. So you've got to balance it all out. But when you can tier your answers, and last week I think I talked about this. I had a client that I was just recently working with, and they had this step-by-step process. It was 8 steps, and they did a really nice job of calling out this is step 1 and naming the step very clearly and succinctly. But then it was about a half a page of just verbiage. And what we did is right under the step is we wrote outcome. And we wrote what the outcome of that particular step was going to be. And that sounds really simple. That outcome's going to be really simple stuff to you, but it's going to mean so much to somebody like the straight shooter and the social butterfly. They're just going to read those first 2 lines. They're going to read the step and the outcome, and that's going to satisfy or unsatisfy them. And that's where they're going to get their information. Whereas your statistical and slow and steady are going to keep reading, but they're also making a judgment call based on those first 2 lines. They just want the backup to go with it. So that's how you can really tackle all of them. Get the stories in there, but don't make the stories so much a part of it that somebody like the statistical and the straight shooters can't sink their teeth into the rest of it. Yes, it's a balancing act. Yes, I know you guys are all thinking like, holy cow, Lisa, we have these limited timelines, and now you're giving us more information that we've got to do, and we don't have time to do this. Play with it. I would say start small. Do this in some of the front sections where you really need to be making an impression, because those are those first sections that people are generally reading. The other thing is look at the evaluation criteria and maybe the top 3 areas that are, for those of you who get the evaluation criteria, we don't always get it, but for the top 2 or 3 areas that are the top points, focus on it there. Do it in a few different places and just start getting used to that idea. And it's really going to help you. If you need more information about this, there's a chapter in my book around these personality styles, and then we train on them as well. So, you can always reach out to us if this is something you want us to come in and talk to your team about. Or again, you can grab the book. It's called the RFP Success Book, available on Amazon. And that's kind of a easy way to get a little bit more information around these 4 personality styles. All right, everybody, that concludes our podcast for today. As always, I really appreciate you being here. You've been listening to the RFP Success Show. I'm Lisa Rehurek, and as always, I wish you great success in your RFP responses, and I will see you next week.
You have been listening to the RFP Success Show with RFP expert Lisa Rehurek, author of the RFP Success Book. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss a show. And thanks for spending time with us today.